Hi guys, welcome to this week's video. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Carlos. Laura's usually with me, but she's taking some time off working on our store. We have a channel called Our Journey on Pico Island. We are now in Canada, but we spend our times in half on Pico Island, Azores, and in Canada. It's just for those that maybe you're here for the first time. Hopefully you can subscribe to our channel. On this channel, we'll be sharing obviously Pico Island, things about the Azores, buying a home, retirement, cost of living. We're also going to show you the best of both worlds, Canada and Portugal, and spending quality time in both. And right now we're actually in Canada. We're going to be spend Christmas here, this year. Hope to be back on Pico mid-January. Last year, we were there for a whole year. We got to spend Christmas back there. Very lucky, fortunate. Vlog 74. Wow. I guess about a year it took us to do 74 vlogs, one vlog a week, and it's pretty incredible. Thank you. Thank you for all your support. Hopefully you will continue to keep watching them. Soon we'll be back on Picos. We'll have more on-the-spot videos. So we've been getting questions from like-minded individuals like us. And so we've compiled these questions, and we're going to try and answer them based on our experience. And for example, on this video, we're going to answer some questions regarding types of property, the real estate market, construction costs, finding good, reliable workers, how easy it is to buy direct from the seller, taxes in the Azores, is it less? Is Azores government friendly? So these are just a few questions that I keep getting, and they're amazing questions. These are questions that you should be asking, especially if you're considering moving somewhere or just buying a vacation home, semi-retiring, working remote. These are they're connected. So these are very good questions to know from the beginning, and I'll just try and touch on them through our experience. So some types of properties that you will find in the Azores, pretty much in all the islands, okay? Obviously, the bigger islands will have, obviously, more population. They'll have more homes to choose from. But I think it falls pretty much three categories from what we've experienced. So you're going to have the rustic island home, Portuguese home, which is between 50 to 100 years old. A lot of them are probably closer to 100, like the one we bought. It was about 100 years old. So these are rustic homes. Some of them would have had maybe extensions. In our case, there was the original house, and it was extended. They were originally built with these major rocks, lava rocks, and then they painted it, and they put, it's pretty well-built homes. Especially when we bought the property, we really got to see the construction of it. It's pretty incredible. And so you're going to find a lot of these, okay? And some of them are in very good condition, and then some of them are not. And that's where you're going to make that decision. Do I want to spend to fix it and buy it cheap, or pay more and it's pretty much ready to move in? The other type that we see a lot on the islands is rural. I guess it falls under rural, and you probably heard of rural tourism or turismo rural. And these are individuals actually that you started hearing more of that in tourism, because certain individuals had the insight, and obviously with government incentives, to go and buy these old lava homes. And these are the ones that were just black lava rocks. You'll see them all over the islands. And a lot of them are ruins, but they revived them. They made these homes into amazing properties, and so you will have the option to buy these types of homes. Some of them, you will have people living them, then they decide to sell them. Some of them are ruins. You're going to find different levels of these rural lava homes, and obviously they're going to have their own price tags to them, and again, some will require a lot of work, some will not. But I think the government, there is incentives. If you qualify, you should try for it. I mean, because the idea is to revive these beautiful pieces of property back to life. And a property we bought also had a lava house, 2 levels, and eventually, hopefully, after we renovate the house we're in, we could tackle that. Because I mean, these are gems, right? They're like they're not built anymore. Some of these could be like 150, 200 years old. So you will see them throughout pretty much all the islands in the Azores. I know Pico has a lot of them. And there's new builds. I think the third category, I would say new builds. I see a lot of people building their ideal house. Some of them are smaller, some are pretty large. and their own designs. Sometimes they'll go according to a lot of the other styles. Some they'll add some new modern ideas to them, which is great. And I see some, some really creative people putting up some nice properties. So when you build from new builds, these are cement blocks, just in case. So they're built already with the earthquakes in mind, and so forth, with the steel. So the construction is very well. It's high quality on these items from what I've seen, and I think that's pretty much your three main decisions. These are the properties you're going to be coming across when you're looking to buy a property or to build. In the case if you don't find anything and you can't get something that you kind of fits your lifestyle, you will have to build from scratch. I guess don't be afraid to do it. Based on what I've learned, and I'm still learning a lot. I'm literally a rookie. Laura and I just rookies in this. And I don't think maybe 2 years ago, 3 years, I'd be more afraid to do a new build. Now, probably not so much. It's definitely worth considering. So another hot subject is the real estate market on Pico and the other islands and Portugal. Obviously, Portugal as a country is a very popular tourism country, but also a lot of people are semi-retiring or complete retirement, full retirement, working remotely. It's a country that's now welcoming. A lot of red tape has gone, and a lot of people deciding to purchase a home, a property. Sometimes they'll use it, 1, 2 months a year or more. But the real estate market in all of Portugal obviously is on the rise. So the real estate will continue to go up. It's not going to go down. As a place, a destination, a country gets more recognition, there's more interest. Obviously, more people visit. Some fall in love with the country and then they decide to go back and spend more time. That's just the way it is. It happens with all the popular countries. So the values will continue to go up. Obviously, it comes to the Azores. Depends on the island. I think the islands that people already know a lot about, like the Big Island, São Miguel, St. Michael, obviously has the biggest city of the Azores, Ponta Delgada. Prices have been going up for a while. Okay, so it's definitely more expensive to buy, especially in the Ponta Delgada in certain areas of that island. Then you move over to Terceira, also a bit of a population there, probably the second largest population in all of the Azores. And now Pico seems to be an island that's it's trending for sure. And I think it's a trend that will continue. And I think I've seen, especially since the last year, the values of real estate go up. Again, it depends where on the island of Pico, like any other island, where some houses will be some properties will be more expensive, some land will be more expensive. So a key is to go there and check it out. But definitely is on the way up. You can still get gems on the island. We were lucky to find from a seller a really beautiful property in one of the really nice villages of Pico, and we bought it for 70,000 euros. Okay, I think some of those you can still get it. You might need more work, but to live in, ready to live, it's going to be tougher. Because now it won't be easy, for example, getting something under 150,000 euros on Pico, or probably Fayal and São Miguel and Terceira. Some of the smaller islands, I would say yes. It's just a matter of researching, and everyone has a budget and you stick to it. All the islands of the Azores are beautiful. They all have that peace and tranquility and security and safety. They all have that. Just some have more. They're not they're all different, right? They're similar, but they are different. They all have their unique characteristics, and it's all going to depend on your taste. What's going to be best suited for you? Some of the homes that they're building, like the new builds, obviously with blocks, some steel to be sturdy for the earthquake proof. It's like cement blocks, right? That's what they use for that. But they're also building a little bit of wood. I've seen some in the last little while wood. So you have options in the real estate market there. More and more people, especially from the outside, are deciding to build, not just build the usual, the more common. They're, beautiful wood cabins. It's getting some variety, which is great. And it's good for the overall real estate market. As far as finding supply, and obviously the demand's going to be increasing. And if you don't have as much supply, prices will be more expensive. But I think you can still find the older houses. This is what I'm seeing, especially on Pico, where needs more work. Those are the ones that will be more affordable, less expensive. Obviously, you have to calculate what you're going to be spending on. And some people are choosing to buy that older rustic home that needs work, happens to be in a beautiful area, ocean view and so forth, and then say, okay, it's still within our budget, we'll buy it, and then we will put our signature touches, the renos, all that stuff that's required. I think a lot of people are choosing to do that. Obviously, you have some that are going to be doing, they just want to move in. So they're going to be prepared to pay more for those. It's just the way it is. But I would say that the real estate market in the Azores is going to continue to have value increase. And I think it's a great place to, put your money, invest. Absolutely. So who is making the move to the Azores? From a lot of the comments and the people that follow our channel, from some of the emails, it's spread all over the place. I mean, the demographics are 30-year-olds all the way up to retired 70 and so forth. I mean, there's newlyweds with no kids, kind of wanting that work remotely, maybe live half and half, or they just want to change, and they're choosing the Portugal and the Azores. You also have people that are retired. I think there's quite a few of those, or early retirement. I know people in their 50s that are retiring now, and have decided to make their home basically in the Azores on Pico. And because, I mean, this sort of opened our eyes, because through engaging with some of the followers, they're literally they're on the island. I mean, and I find that really, really cool. I mean, and we're learning from them, and we're going to learn a lot more from them. Obviously, it's harder to learn from me here, but I'm telling you, when we get to Pico, we definitely will be just, talking about their stories. And there's quite a few individuals, couples, and from, again, all types of demographics, coming from different countries, a lot of North America, like Canada and the US, but also from Britain, Germany. A lot of the things they have in common, for example, they want a place that has peace, they have security, they have safety, it's a healthy area, affordable, low cost of living. They all have that. They just want to go to a place where they can feel safe, leave the doors open, have that village mindset. This is what I'm reading. Okay, this is obviously how we feel as well, Laura and I. I mean, this is how and a lot of people we talk to, this is what they wanted. This is why they choose to spend time in a destination like the Azores, like Pico, or any one of the other islands, okay? And I think we are getting this now. The feedback coming is basically that. These individuals that I know, they're on Facebook, and then I see them, they're posting their house that they just bought, they're renovating them, they're doing what we're doing, I mean, basically. And I think, and they're all happy, and they're all meeting the people from the wherever area of the island they're in, and I think it's amazing. I think that's really a healthy thing to do. And I think other people want to do the same thing, okay? So anyone that falls into these categories, they are the ones making the move to the Azores, or a place like the Azores, okay? Obviously, we're islands, they want that island lifestyle, right? They're not moving to central Portugal or central Italy. They want the islands. Obviously, there's other islands, but not all islands are created equal, and a lot of them are beyond most people's reach as far as finance. I mean, unless you have millions and millions of dollars, and even that, you might not have the other things. Does it mean if you can go to buy a home in one of these other islands for $1 million, $2 million? Who knows? Is that really safe? There's all these other things that it's not going to tick the box, So that's why there's a high interest on islands like Pico and the rest of the Azores. Another reason where at the beginning I wasn't, as I did research, like I'm from there, for those that don't know. And, but I started seeing, but more lately, it's the logistics of the Azores, the location, where they are. Obviously, they are in the middle of the north of basically the mid-Atlantic, let's say, towards a little bit more north. But the uniqueness of that area is because it's the nature, right? It's just there's nothing else around there but the ocean and the marine life, and low pollution. So all great stuff, right? But it's also the proximity to North America and to Europe. And I mentioned this in a lot of the videos because sometimes people are watching this for the first time, and it's important to know that, okay, that's the importance of the Azores, and that's good, and that's adds to another reason why people are choosing it, because it's easy to get to North America. 5 hours to Toronto, 5.5. Boston, 4.5, 5 hours. They can go to Lisbon, it's 2 hours. They fly to Rome or England, go 2.5 hours, you see. They're deciding that, okay, perfect. I mean, it's safe, it has everything else. So in other words, they keep checking those boxes. And logistically, even if you want to work remotely and be connected, like A1 connection to the rest of the world, You got it there. 5G, 4G, whatever you need technology-wise, it's there. Okay, so I think that's a big one, and it's something that's one I always, because I always lean towards, oh, it's so peaceful, it's so clean, it's so healthy, friendly, affordable, but you cannot forget that one. I think that's a major importance, and that could be a clincher on someone deciding to that, especially that wants to be connected to Europe and to North America. So there's actually a couple, they reached out to me in one of these recent emails, and they're a young couple. I don't know how old they are. They never told me, but they have two kids under 10, so they're fairly young. He was thanking me for the videos that he's been watching them, and that we actually inspired them a year ago, or one of the videos started, for them to look at the Azores, and guess what? They bought a house in Fayal, okay, and they're actually going to be applying for a golden visa, and they were just they're on the way back there for another 2 to 3 months, and they're going to be doing some renos. And he was asking me questions about products, from the mainland, ordering online, all these kinds of things, access to Apple products. That was one of his questions. So, and all these things are there. I mean, because we're in the middle of a fairly remote area, we're connected to mainland Portugal, so we get everything that they have, basically. It might take a little longer to get there, but we have it. You're not going to go, we got whatever TVs and computers or anything you need, furniture and so forth, you have top quality A1 products, and so, yeah, so this is just a good example of the demographics. I would say they were a fairly young couple, and they're there. They're in Fayal, and I know other ones in Fayal. I know some now in Pico, and because we do the vlog, it's basically on Pico. That's most of the connection is to that area. Let's say the Triangle Islands. But that's one couple that comes to mind, and they're, if I was to guess, they're probably not over 40. That's just a guess. And we're going to stay in touch. We'll probably connect when we're there. And I told them if they have any more questions, obviously they feel free, because sometimes it's good to hear for someone that's done something, that instead of just trying to read about it just in general. And I get it. I mean, I will do the same thing, and I have done it. So, anyways, that's just one example that came to mind. Another question I got recently was, does Azores have lower taxes? So he was probably referring, does it have lower taxes compared to mainland Portugal? And the answer is yes. Out of the 7 regions, 5 of them being on the mainland, Portugal, then you have Madeira, and then you have the Azores. So the Azores has the lower taxes of all 3, okay? But I gotta say this, Azores is not a tax haven. I repeat, not a tax haven, okay? You will pay tax. Count on it. Azores is tax friendly. I guess that's a better word to use. And I guess the government at one time was not, there's a lot of red tape, not as friendly. And I guess they keep working at it to be even more friendly. So for example, again, the Azores pays less tax, a bit less tax than Madeira and mainland Portugal. Like for example, business tax, I think the average falls between 20 and 35%. They have applicable taxes of 18, 9, and 4. These are 3 different categories. These applicable taxes will fall into different categories. VAT tax, I think now went from 18 to 16 in the Azores, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. Real estate tax is 0.3%, and it's based per year on the value of the house. Okay, that's pretty much what you pay. So our property's not even more than 300 euros a year, just to give you an example. Okay, and it's probably like a small to medium-sized property. So for residents, they have a progressive scale. So it depends on how much they earn. Okay, and they can go anywhere from 5 to 35%. I think it falls in there. So the more you earn, the more you pay. I think that's pretty much, in a lot of countries, that's pretty much how it works. It's progressive, okay? Now, the non-resident is a flat rate, 20% at the moment, okay? Now, there's something called NHR, non-habitual resident. And if you qualify, then you could pay 0 tax for 10 years. We're not experts on this. I'm going to try and put a link to one or two websites that really dive into this, and I found it very useful for me. And it's something that you constantly have to learn. It's just a lot of reading, and keep learning, and don't be scared. Don't let it scare you. And a lot of times, everyone's in the same boat. We're all kind of, trying to understand something. Some people understand things easier than others, but that's the idea of having a good team, a good professional, having a good accountant, especially when it comes to tax. You need that. We have one, speaks English, and he's pretty up on everything that has to do with Portugal tax and outside. Like if we're from Canada as well. He knows a lot of the legalities of both countries and what is required, especially if you want to spend your time half and half, or I think that's very important. Is Azores government friendly? And I would say yes, it is. Compared to years ago, where obviously I was a lot younger, but from what they've told me, it was pretty bad. It was definitely not efficient. I mean, don't forget, Portugal until 1974, it was a dictatorship, right? So, anyways, I think things now, a lot of the red tape has gone, and they've added new legislation. A lot of it's very good, allows things to flow a little easier. The process is a lot better when you're dealing with anything to do with the government in general, because a lot of things are connected to the government. You want to buy a house, you want to buy a car. It's just like any other country, and you need a good system, especially to be efficient. And that was one of the questions I had very recently. This gentleman was asking, "How efficient is it?" It is. I would say it's efficient, and I think it might even be getting better. There's always room for improvement. I can tell you from experience, some things just it's slow. I mean, it was just kind of, okay, well, there's the improvement required here. Why is it taking this long? And sometimes that's what happens. It does take longer. Sometimes there's reasons why it's taking longer. Sometimes it might just be the individual. Maybe this individual shouldn't be working where they're working. Who knows? Some people are a lot more, quicker than others. At the end of the day, that's the system. You have to get used to it. You have to have some patience. And just go with it, okay? For example, like in both our cases, when we bought property, all the paperwork, all the documents from the house or the land was in order. Everything was in order, and I think that's the right word for it. Our notary does this job. We looked, okay, everything is in order, bring the people in, we all sit there, we sign. Because what could happen is if the paperwork is not in order, okay, if all of a sudden, okay, who owns this land? I thought it was you. It's that other person. This was they had a deal 100 years ago. They shook their hand. That happens. So when you're looking at properties, one thing you should is to have a notary already working for you on your team that you could say, by the way, check this property. Is it clear? Is this documents in order? Or there's still some things that need to be done that could take another 4 to 5 months. That's why it's important to have a really good notary that can do this, or a lawyer, either or. Obviously, you might need the notary can only do so much, but to do with the real estate and buying land, buying houses, deeds, wills, the notary can do a lot of things. And when he can't, our notary, for example, does work with a lawyer. He would just refer us to the lawyer if we needed the lawyer for any specifics, right? So I think it's amazing. Our experience was, I would have to use the word amazing, was kind of smooth, perfect. Okay, we didn't run into any problems. No, it's not always like that. So it's at the end of the day, you got to kind of be on it, and have your professional, have your accountant, have your notary, have your banker if you need a banker, to give you the proper information as you're going through the process or even before, so there's no surprises during. Another main question that I keep getting is it easy to find workers for renos? You want to renovate the house, workers for your any type, especially construction, okay, to do with that kind of work. I got to tell you, obviously we're in the middle of our reno. It's so slow. I mean, it's sometimes it's just you have no choice but to be slow, depending on if you're taking your time deciding, or you have to find the right person that's for the job. All these things can cause it to be slow, but overall it is a slow process, and you just have to have luck. I think to find that really good worker, you need luck and you need patience. Okay, and I think it's really good to get a referral. If someone's already used someone that they trust, they're honest, and you trust this person, they're referring you, that's the best way to go. And at the end of the day, you kind of it's these are smaller islands like Pico, for example, is 15,000 people. Okay, it's not huge, hundreds of thousands. So there's less workers, obviously, because it's just the way it is. So you just have to have patience. That's I think we've learned that, and we're still learning, and I think we're getting pretty good at it. We just you get anxious, you want things to be quicker, but you should always be in a lookout, talk to people, and even in advance, even before you even own something, right? You can say, okay, because this is a good question. People are kind of wondering, it's like, wow, if I do find a place that needs renovations, how easy it is to find a really good worker, and it's not just a good worker. You want a good, honest, trustworthy person, right? I mean, it's like anywhere. There's good and bad, right? So it's finding, and I think from a referral, it's usually the best way to go. In most cases, most will hire individuals, right? So let's say you have a really good individual that's an electrician. Someone will refer that electrician to you. In our case, it's exactly what happened. Perfect. Okay, or some of these more with the plumbing, or is it some of the deals more with cementing, patios or doing the roof? That's kind of the thing. So they'll use individuals. No, that individual can do a lot of the things, but maybe he doesn't do something else. You'll find someone else to do it, or maybe they don't have the time. So you got to kind of juggle, that kind of thing, right? So you could also hire a big company. There's a few on the island of Pico, for example, obviously a lot more in San Miguel, but they're going to charge the most. I think that's how it works. And it might be quicker. It's a bit different. You'll just charge, okay, the whole job is going to be this. And usually it is that. And then it's going to be finished by this time. I'm saying the really good companies, most likely they'll be close to that. But you do wind up paying more. Okay, so a lot of people will, like I said, get referred someone that's someone else used, and in a lot of cases they're good workers and they're honest and trustworthy, and they're the kind of work you really need to look for. And if it takes a little longer to find them, it's going to be worth it in the long run. Not everyone will be completely honest, and sometimes I'm not saying that they're like super bad people, but they'll always say yes, and they never want to say no. And they'll exaggerate, oh yeah, I can do that in 2 weeks, but it's not going to be 2 weeks. And then, it's a lot of this, right? Sometimes the ones that you might work out that deal that's like the cheapest, it might be like that, unfortunately. So you got to be aware, right? And you can't, I mean, I think the advantages of sometimes using, okay, I want this individual to come in and do this. If something goes wrong and things don't work out, you're not tied into a big company for the whole contract of it. You can just say, okay, well, that's it. You're out of here. And I think that's, I feel a little bit more comfortable when it's like that, because then you're tied, and that could be scary, when a bigger company kind of says, hey, buddy, that's the way it has to be, and screw you, basically. I know I'm kind of using a little bit of a language there, but you also can be aggressive. And I think you got to be aggressive from the beginning, where you're not going to be pushed around. And I think that works if it's in Canada or any other country, in Portugal, the Azores, on Pico, a big or small island. I think that's just the way it has to be. Okay, and you have to use that aggressiveness and the research that you're going to do, and work with people that are going to refer someone with quality, and take your time doing it. I think that's a few tips I can give you from our experience. I always get questions on costs of construction. What are the costs? Give me an average, give me an idea. So again, sharing our experience. We're using individuals to do it, right? So let's just say it's about $8 to $10. That's what we've been finding, euros an hour. Some I go to 12, but from our exchanges that we've had with people we kind of interviewed, just to, okay, this is what it was usually the average. So you can get a worker there 80 to 100 euros a day, basically, if you want to doing whatever they're doing. It's per hour, and that's it. So the key is to get a good idea from them. How long is it going to take to do this, right? So, and you got to stick to it, because you could be paying lower per hour, but they decide to take twice as long, then you pay more than you have to. That's really the key to having an honest, trustworthy, someone that was referred to you, that has a reputation, that wants to keep the reputation. But as far as the cost, is pretty much the number on average. Some might charge a lot more, like bigger companies, like I'm saying, but from our experience, that's pretty much the numbers that we were working with. Definitely best to have an idea of the totality of the job. So even before you do the job, you bought the house, okay, we want to do this. Really, okay, that's write everything that you want done, get a couple of quotes, get an idea of what it might cost, but it's the totality of it. So then it's like, oh, you never told me that. Just get it, because then you have that budget in your head of much roughly you're going to spend or want to spend, without having that and just doing things just by the fly, unless it's just very minor rentals. But in some cases, when someone buys a house and needs a lot of rent, it's a lot of rentals. It's a lot of these are older houses. It's going to require a little bit of a budget and time that it's going to take to do it. So know the totality of the whole project. That's an advice that I can give you. And the key is to have those they're your team, right? So to know an electrician or a plumber or someone that can come in and fix the roof if you need to, even though you might not, you know them. You can always call them, and I think they're very important parts of your team. In those areas. So they're always, and then you can refer them to other people too, right? So it's good to work with these guys. I mean, they have families, some of these, it's good to keep it in the economy, and of the area that you're in, if you can, right? So plus they're closer to your home. So if they need something quick, they're not far from you and they'll come. I think that's the key. Kind of nurture that, kind of treat them like gold, basically, because the good ones are going to give it back in spades, right? And I think that's just a way to work together. That's how a village mindset works, going way back. You kind of, at the end of the day, yes, you're going to pay, but they also, they want to help you. They want to do the right job. They want to do a great job for you, so then you can tell other people about it. The ones that don't care, then you don't want to deal with those. Just keep them out. I also get a lot of questions on materials. Are there enough materials? Are these materials on the island? All materials are there, okay? And they're accessible. Most of them come from the mainland. So when they run out, they try not to run out. But if they do, they'll be coming fairly quickly. Okay, there's ships, containers coming regularly. But then the companies that have construction materials and so forth on the island, and Pico, which is the island we're on, we go in there. There's the wood. They have pretty much everything. They're really not running out. Unless it's, sure, during the COVID and pandemic, like anywhere. I mean, supply chains kind of got curbed there, and so, but in normal times, it's, paint, whatever you need to do what you need, it's there. Okay. The cost of materials, I think, and again, we just early diving into it. The ones I've seen are definitely comparable to some of the prices we get here in Canada. Some things might be a little bit more, some a little bit less, but nothing really scared us. Like, oh my God, it's so expensive. So when the normal supply chains are working normally, the rates are lower, obviously, and that's how you can compare. But I think, nothing was alarming to us so far. If it gets to that point, we'll definitely probably advise you on some of the videos we'll do in the future. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But as far as construction costs, I think it's when the labor, if you get the right worker with those labor costs, because that's a lot less expensive than in Canada. €8 or €10, it's a lot less. Okay, than here. Limit, obviously, because Portugal has one of the lowest minimum wages of Europe. I believe that should come up, but hopefully it will in the future. But that's one reason why, if you get the right worker, you will save on the labor. Okay, even if some materials might be a little bit more expensive, I think it's the labor. The quality is going to be there. There's a lot of great construction workers in the Azores, and you don't have to worry about that part of it. Okay, but I think I think you could do something, if you don't be afraid to renovate, don't be afraid to do a new build, because I think if you get the right people doing this, it'll turn out very, very well, very well. I also before going, I wanted to remind you guys about the store. It's only a few days old, but check it out. We're going to keep adding items to there. We're obviously trying to use the store to support us a little bit, but to support the Azores, to support Pico. And I think that, and Fayal and all the islands, I think if we could do that through some of these items as merchandise, it'd be amazing. Okay, so check it out. Okay. Before going, I wanted to remind you guys about the store. It's only a few days old, but check it out. We're going to keep adding items to there. We're obviously trying to use the store to make to support us a little bit, but to support the Azores, to support Pico. And I think that, and Fayal and all the islands, I think if we could do that through some of these items as merchandise, it'd be amazing. Okay, so check it out. Okay.